Okay. Well, I wanted to share with you some of the projects that Covenant has been involved in. The first thing we did was a few years ago, we raised $2 million in our congregation and I will share that our congregation is, since we're all open in this dialogue now, we are very white and privileged. And we've got some stuffy people, and we've got some folks that are buying into what we've challenged the congregation to do is to help solve this problem. I mean, Charlotte was ranked 50 out of 50 in economic mobility, and we've affordable housing is an issue in Charlotte just like it is everywhere else. And we have a member of our congregation, and I don't think he would mind me sharing this with you, Mr. Hugh McCall, and he was the CEO of Bank of America. Mm-hmm. And he built the bank when it was NCNB, North Carolina National Bank, built it into the big bank that it is today. He's 86 years old now. He calls it his bank, and it is his bank. But he has really, since he retired 20 years ago, or actually 25 years ago, he's really spent his time giving back. I mean, he has been privileged and blessed and has done well in his career. And he is exclusively focused on racial inequities, social justice, and affordable housing. And it's just, I could spend an hour just talking about what he's done in the Charlotte community. He's a remarkable man, but he stood up in front of our congregation and kind of read that it was the Chitty report and said that Charlotte is ranked 50 out of 50 in economic mobility. We got a shortage of housing, and I am sick and tired of talking about it. We've been talking about this for years. We got to do something, and I don't care where we start, but we got to do something, and basically challenge the congregation. And so to make a long story short, we formed a committee to study affordable housing and decided that, the church could we were going to raise a capital campaign anyway to fund some church improvements, some capital projects. But Mr. McCall inspired us to, in addition to that, let's raise a lot more money, and let's target where we can help the community. And so that essentially spun a committee off. And, we love, as Presbyterians, we love our committees, to study what we could do and what the needs are of the community. And came back about a year later that we wanted to make a bold difference in the community. We wanted to do something that was repeatable, and we wanted to do something that could be inspirational to other congregations that wanted to do something similar. Because it wasn't about the amount of money that you could contribute. It's the idea, and let's throw it out there and see what God could do with it. And so we came back with we wanted to build church improvements. We wanted to invest in affordable housing, and then that committee also came back and said, we've got some extra space at our church. Let's start an early childhood education program, because to match what the report said, that economic mobility starts with early childhood education. So that's what we did, and we ended up raising, I think it was a total of $12 million to do all of that, of which $2 million went into an affordable housing, brand new affordable housing apartments that I'll show you. And we ended up, instead of just donating the money, we made a very, very low interest rate loan. And the reason we did that is because we felt it was important to, instead of just giving money away, there's toxic charity. There's even a book called Toxic Charity. We need them to be paid back. And the reason we want it paid back is so that we could do this again. So it's a 15-year loan, a very, very low interest rate. And the reason we were charging an interest rate is because we want some of the those funds that come out of that project to help go towards scholarship in the Early Childhood Education Center, so that it all kind of works in unison together. And I'll add that while we raised $12 million, I think we started out to raise $5 million. And people just got inspired by what we were doing, and it just snowballed. I'm still shocked that we were able to raise that much money. And so it's inspirational giving, and movement begets movement. And so let me just show you what we. So yeah. This is the rendering. It's called the Mezzanine on Freedom. One of the issues, one of the data points in the report was that we don't need to create pockets of affordable housing in Charlotte. We need, because then it's, Charlotte is just famous for systematic oppression. I mean, the Charlotte has got a V. If you look at how the city is divided, and the affordable housing is always over here to the east and the west, and it was done by design. The early leaders created that. The other side of the railroad tracks, and so one of the issues on the report was recommendations on the report were, we need this housing in everybody's backyard, and we need people that don't need to have affordable rents living with the people that do need affordable rents, because we need those people to mentor to the other people that are living there. We need neighbors living with neighbors. And so that was the model. And so this development with Covenant's $2 million, that helped offset rents and allowed us to offer rents in this new development. It's 185 units with a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And that $2 million kind of wedged that gap to allow the rents that are typically 80% of area median income is what you would find for the lowest rents. It allowed us to reach all the way down to 30% of the area median income. That's where the real need is, the 30 to 50%. And it's funny how God works, because we announced that we were going to make this investment in this development. We thought about building our own apartments, and then we realized that's not what we do. There are people that do that a lot better than we do, and we don't want to get in the property management business. We don't want to get in the construction business. But we partnered with an affordable housing developer, and we interviewed at least 4 different developers and had a close to 6 or 7 projects pitched. We picked this one to invest in because it was close to our church. It was in a great area of need. It was on the transit line. It was close in proximity to jobs, good schools, all the things that we felt were important, or that our committee felt were important to provide support for those families living there. And once the paper announced that we were making this project, the landowner of this property just said, well, gosh, instead of selling the land to the developer, I'm just going to donate the land. Wow. So now we had $2 million of Covenant's low interest rate money. We had free land. And so you can imagine what all that did to the rents in this project. And so it ended up being 70% of the entire development has rents below AMI. And it's just been phenomenal. It was delivered. It's full now. It was delivered about 2 years ago. The church has, one of our pastors is living there. We have formed neighborhood groups. We want the residents there to feel a part of Covenant Presbyterian Church. There was actually a shooting here, Marla. I thought about when you mentioned that. There was a shooting here that ended up being gang related about 2 months ago, and it's caused a lot of trauma for the people who already have trauma in their lives. And it was random, but not. We haven't had any issues since then, but it's still. We formed a self-care kind of mental health matters group that one of our members is a counselor, and he said, I'll lead it. And we had our first meeting last Tuesday night, and 10 people showed up, and it's funny. Where does the Lord show up? Is it, a lot of our congregation says, oh, well, the Lord shows up when I, went to Bermuda and was sitting on the beach or went here. And no, the Lord shows up in rooms like this. And it was incredible. And just everybody sharing their fears and their journeys. And it wasn't so much the shooting. It was mostly, I'm a single mother. I thank God that I have this affordable place to live, but I'm having trouble making ends meet. I have a job and I've got to get my child to child care. I mean, just the simple or not so simple problems that came out in the room and people sharing together was remarkable. There was another woman that said she hasn't left her apartment in over 6 months because she's just afraid to go outside. And as a result, she doesn't have any food in her refrigerator. And because she had she was a victim of domestic violence, and I guess she had a bad situation happen in a grocery store. So she's just petrified to go to the grocery store. So another one of the members or residents said, well, what if I just take you to the grocery store? And she's like, you would do that for me? And then everybody started crying, and it was really special. So I think we're on to something there, and we're going to hold another session in about a month. And I went just to have representation from Covenant, and I was so moved, and I want to go back now. Like, these are my friends now. Yeah. So that's a long-winded story of kind of what we did. That's the rendering of it. This was when we were building it. This is what it looks like today. And this little area this little area right in here, this is the clubhouse. That's where we held our group right there. So you would never look at this and say this is affordable housing. And so that really encouraged our church to start, really paying attention to this space. I mean, this was a drop in the bucket. And so flash forward, one of the churches that we went around and kind of pitched other churches and congregations on what we did here, because we had a lot of people calling us to say, how can I help? How can I do something similar? And it doesn't take, $2 million. You could, your church may raise, $50,000, but you could partner with, 3 or 4 other churches that want to do the same thing. And then now you've got a pool of money that can make a significant impact to Habitat for Humanity, or, one project in particular. And one of the churches that held one of these sessions that we invited people to was Mayfield Memorial Church in Charlotte. Pastor Weary leads that church, and it's an African-American predominant church. We got him thinking, and he came back and said, well, gosh, our church has a lot of land, excess land in the back of our church. What if we did something like that here? And so they put their land on a long-term, like a 99-year ground lease, and they are building these.
Wow.
This is called Sugary Place. It's 51 units of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And Covenant, again, we had one of our blessed members said, I'm gonna donate $100,000 to this campaign, and Covenant ended up raising $500,000 that went towards this development. Same AMI, and this was the groundbreaking. And Sugary Place. Sugary was an old plantation that used to be close by, so they came up with that name, and so that's broken ground, and they'll deliver sometime next year, 51 units of mixed income housing.
So, who manages the complexes? Do you have somebody that you contract with?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. There's a property manager that is hired that has a long track record of managing mixed income properties. That's all that they do. And so that's who's managing, and the developer chose them. So they get a fee. They get paid for managing the apartment, but it's a third party, and it's called Nussbaum, Nussbaum, and that's again, that's their business. That's what they do. Because it's complex when you have residents that, and even the property manager, when we had the group the other night, I mean, she stayed till 9 o'clock at night when the session was finished, and she was happy to do it because that supports her residents that live there. And this will be managed also by Nussbaum. So they've got multiple other properties in the Charlotte community. So they've got efficiencies and economies of scale to be able to do that. But that's a great question. Yeah, the church has nothing to do with the management.
I was going to say, I take a certain kind of skill set to be able to do some of that management, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And then the most recent thing we did, the urban ministry has changed their name in Charlotte to Roof Above, and they're more of a supportive housing, not necessarily permanent housing, but they've got supportive housing. So they're getting people off the streets who were living in tents or in shelters, and they're putting them in a supportive environment where they can have a roof over their head, access to mental health care and health care. And that's what they do. We've been a partner with them. Our church has for a long time. And back during the downturn, they realized that, because as costs started to escalate to build affordable housing, which continues to go up, they thought, well, what if there was an old hotel that is in Charlotte, and they bought it, and because they went through it and just said, gosh, we can buy this and convert it to supportive housing. This is a lot less expensive than actually building it. So I want to show you what they did. We had our elder dinner last week, and so these pictures are pretty new. And when I saw this, I knew exactly what I was going to do with them, Marla. So this is the hotel. It was an old Quality Inn in Charlotte that the owner of the hotel was a donor to Roof Above, and he agreed to house, during COVID, to house people that were, in hotels and on the street. He didn't. This was an old hotel, and the occupancy was really low, and so he agreed to house people. And then once that happened, the executive director, that's when she got the idea that, gosh, what if we could just buy this hotel from you and convert it? And so it started about a year-long campaign, and a lot of churches in Charlotte contributed to it. Covenant, again, we had Mr. McCall that stepped up and said, I'll donate $500,000 to this, and convince the congregation to chip in. And so we did. And at the end of it, we ended up raising $1.5 million towards this effort. And
now, was that all within your congregation, or were there people beyond your congregation that pitched in and donated?
The $1.5 million was just our congregation. I think that this total project was closer to 10 million. So they got a lot of other donations to go into that. But Covenant contributed 1.5 million total, and that was all through our congregation, because of people like Mr. McCall that said, you need to get off your rear ends and let's do something. So this is what they did. This is what the hotel looks like today. This was a before picture. This is what it looks like today.
Huh.
This was the old hotel room, and see that these headboards here, they took those off and did this with it, so that there's a breakup between where you're sleeping and your living area. They also came in and put these kitchens. None of the rooms had kitchens in it, and now they all have these little kitchenette areas. And there's a little stove here, and it's a total of 88 units of permanent supportive housing, and started with not a small donation, but started with one member of our congregation. And I think our congregation it's all caught on now. So when we made our donation, the other Presbyterian churches, the Myers Park Presbyterian Church, and all the other big steeple churches, as well as the smaller Presbyterian churches, they all chipped in. I mean, everybody chipped in, and it feels good for the community to kind of come together and have something like this. And this is kind of a model of what we want to do in the future. And, we are partnering with the experts that know how to do this. It's their business to do it, and it's being managed by people who know what they're doing. It's a much more efficient use of our dollars. It's no different than the mission and outreach that the church partners with. It's just in a bigger and more bold way. And then the final thing I'll show you, and then I can certainly we'll open it up to questions. There's a Presbyterian church in Charlotte called Plaza Presbyterian. This is those are just some of the covenant members that helped. We have work days out at the Rise, which is the old hotel, and that's just some of our congregation, and that's a resident there. Oh, this is a good slide. So this is all the different people that came in to participate in this project. There's Covenant right there. We're one of, just hundreds of people who contributed to this project. Okay, let me pull up one other slide, and then I'll be quiet for a second. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
This is amazing, Cheryl, what they've done, isn't it?
I'm super impressed.
Yes, me too.
Okay, so there's a Presbyterian church called the Plaza Presbyterian that has lost, their congregation has just dwindled. And Covenant tried to see if we could merge with them, and for a multitude of reasons, it didn't work out. And so one of our partners, who's a member of our church, but she we used to work with an affordable housing developer, the one that built the mezzanine. She's kind of gone out on her own she wants to help congregations in the community come together. And so I'm on a team that are trying to figure out what to do with the Plaza Presbyterian Church. We thought about, could they, and their congregation said we could either just sell it outright. We could sell the church. We could, try to build some affordable housing. And so they really weren't sure what to do. So there was a committee that was formed, and essentially we're in the early stages of trying to figure out what to do with this space. And what they want to try to do is to create a small business incubator where people can go and have a place to work and to collaborate with other small businesses. And I don't know what it's going to look like. None of us know, but to gauge interest, this RFP was just sent out yesterday, and to small businesses or co-working companies that would agree to buy into the vision. So here's kind of the committee. We've got folks from the Presbytery. Jan Edmonston here is kind of spearheading it, and it started through the Presbytery. So she's kind of leading it all. But we've got a group, Liz Ward, she's with a group called Give Impact. She's kind of leading the charge. We've got several pastors on the committee, and then I'm a member of the community. And so we'll see, this is going to be out here for 2 weeks. We're going to try to get proposals back to people to see what ideas they have. And, this is very early, but whatever it ends up looking like, it will respond to the community and the community's needs. It's probably not going to be a place to live, but it'll be most likely a place to work, and it'll be affordable, or there'll be programs that can tailor to the local businesses and the small businesses. So I will be happy to report back as this moves along, but
that's exciting.
I think it's pretty exciting we'll see what happens.
Well, that's just it, because we've had several churches close. This one that is sort of hammered with their roof thing. Their membership has dwindled as well, and sometimes I don't know that we think out of the box enough about how we might move forward you know, so that's interesting.
Well, and Liz, she is an outside the box thinker, and she's
Mhm.
like, let's don't eliminate anything right now, because we don't let money stop us from, doing something bold, because as we've seen, we can find the money. The community will step up and to a good idea, a bold idea. So I just love the way she thinks.
So do you
But
think it will be a mix of maybe like, well, you probably don't really know what to expect, but like small businesses and maybe nonprofit kind of situation?
That's exactly right. That's what I think. I think it'll be small businesses and nonprofits. And the sanctuary will be a gathering space, and I don't know what that'll ultimately look like. We did in the proposal, and I'll send the link for this around so y'all can click on the proposal
be
and look
fun,
through it. But
great.
we had someone kind of estimate, all right, well, this is about what something like this would cost. It's several $1 million. Obviously, there's a lot of work that would need to be reconfigured and electrical and all that, but it'll be something really dynamic.
Where is the church location as it relates to downtown Charlotte or areas? How do you think the community will be served by the use of that space?
Yeah, it's in a place, an area of town called the Plaza, which is an older section of Charlotte. That's part of it's been gentrified, a part of it has not. So I think it's a good area for something like this. The community there is pretty open-minded. It's not a community that says not in my backyard, which was a good start. And so I think so far that they've been really receptive to it, as opposed to just tearing it down and building something new there.
And so it helped me to understand, because I'm not like the business genius. So how are you hoping it to actually bring, are you looking for investors that would help to make this space, or businesses? I'm not quite sure how.
Ultimately, right now we're looking for entrepreneurs and nonprofits and small businesses that could say that will give us sort of their need. Like there's a co-working group that's all they do is build co-working spaces. But we approach them, they're going to submit an RFP to build the co-working space. But we said, well, this is not going to be your typical co-working space. This is going to cater to nonprofits and small businesses. Well, let me think about that. That's what he said, and I can tell by his response he's going to be all in. But it's a little outside of the box. You're not going to make. He's not going to. You're going to do this because you're doing the right thing for the community. You're not going to do this because you're going to make a lot of money off this. We want everybody to keep their lights on and keep food in the refrigerator, but this is a community effort. And so we need someone with a community mind that is in this business that can step in and help us transform this church. And so we're looking for kind of what's the vision? If you needed space, what would be, Cheryl, what would you need in space if you wanted to move your office over here? I mean, what would you need? And help us kind of envision how we should build it out. Once we know what we're going to build out, at that point, we'll reach out to the community for investors.
Got it. Okay.
And that'll be the last thing we do, because then we'll know sort of how much all this is going to cost.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to need to know what it needs to look like before you go out and try to figure out how to build it.
Yeah.
Not just build it and they will come.
That's right.
Get the they will come part first.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So again, this is very early. I just got involved about 2 weeks ago, so I'm getting up to speed too. But they asked me to, again, as a Presbyterian, once you say yes, they keep asking, and I keep saying yes. It's just an incredible thing to be a part of. So.
Well, it seems like just an amazing thing that's just sort of, snowballed from, what you started and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of, it's not just Covenant. I mean, other churches are doing this similar things, and it's, but the churches aren't going to solve all this problem. I think, we can be the leaders and step out and show people what we need to do. But Charlotte really needs, the philanthropic community to step forward too, and the businesses. And that's the other thing, that the businesses in Charlotte got behind the hotel purchase. And I think that'll happen here too.
Well, it makes sense because it's probably a lot of their workers that are being served by some of this,
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is in their community where they live. And so, I think the support there shouldn't be any lack of support on this, but we want it to serve the community, and we want it to be something really dynamic that we can be proud of, and will be full of working people doing good things for the community.
So from start to like getting the mezzanine built and everything, how long did it take to like do the committee work and then all the groundwork and then finally?
Oh, wow. It's actually still going on. I've been working on it for 4 years. Yeah, the committee met for about a year. Once we made the decision, it took about another 6 to 9 months to raise the money and vet all the different projects. And then from start to finish, it took about 2 years to build it, and then to get it leased up and stabilized. We're just getting ready. There was one grant that they applied for. There was one kind of last gap in funding that they needed to fund, and that couldn't come in until it was 100% leased. That is in now. And so I'm getting ready to type up the final report and turn it over to the finance committee before December 31st. And all in all, it was close to 4 years.
Well, I didn't think it was like, 3 months and you were done.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted a ballpark idea of like what kind of time investment.
Yeah. But the other two projects, those were a lot. The first one's always the most difficult. But the first one, we had that, or the second one, we had that money raised in 6 months, and it'll take them again, 2 years to build it, or a year and a half to build it. But it won't be the same level of detail that the mezzanine was. And then the hotel, that was also just not a lot of work that Covenant had to do. Those two were donations. They weren't loans. They were actual donations.
Nice.
That's the other thing we learned, is when you make a loan, now we have to track the financial progress, where and we get quarterly reports, and so that's going to be turned over to our finance committee, and then they'll track it from there on out.
Well, that adds a little layer of commitment there, doesn't it? It as well.
It did, but again, we've got good partners that do this for a living, so it's really more just kind of eyeballing it and making sure they're not major issues, and really a lot of time is spent with the mission and outreach committees to kind of could we have a Christmas party? I think we had a school backpack drive for the kids that live there. So we want to be neighbors. We just didn't want to make a donation or investment and then just leave it alone. We wanted to, they're our neighbors, and we want to get to know them.
So is the mezzanine near the church? Is it fairly close by?
Yeah, it's 2 miles away.
Good.
Yeah,
nice.
It's really close, and we've got a lot of the residents there have started attending church at Covenant, and it's not why we did it, but
right.
Our doors are open, so that's just great. And we have some that are on scholarship. Their kids are on scholarship at the CDC.
And that's actually, you said on your church property.
That's on our campus. Yeah, we had a whole building of classrooms that we just weren't using. So that was a good use of space. But we've got the church had to hire someone to run the CDC. I mean, that's early childhood education. We got to hire teachers. There's got to be a director. And so that's been a full staffed part of the church. Yeah. But it's fun, seeing these kiddos walking around campus and before we didn't have any activity in the morning.
Nice.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
it's kind of stirring some thoughts in my mind, because right across the street from us is an older medical building that somebody was going to buy and convert into little like hotel rooms and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, and they got denied the opportunity to do that. But I'm thinking, well, it's right across the street from the church, maybe that would be, it'd be just a few units, maybe like 12 units or something.
Yeah.
But it would be a way to get our church isn't very big. So, but it would be some way that we could maybe get our feet wet.
Well, and you could partner with, other stakeholders in your community and maybe other churches too.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Well, just please reach out to me, and if you want to explore any of these ideas further, or other ideas that you may have. We're trained in this stuff now, so we're part
I was going to
of it.
say, if I even pose this to like our church, it'll be like, we got to dial up Joe Taylor and ask him to come and talk with us.
And then I'm going to call Liz Ward. Part of spreading the word is you got to know people, and so I don't have all the answers, but I know people who do. Yeah. So and we all work together.
So Joe, I'm going to ask you for your email address. Can I get that from you?
Yeah, I'll send it to Marla too, and she can send it around. But
that's good.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That'll be fine.
And I'll send these slides, Marla, and then and also the link to that RFP that we just sent out for the plaza.
Perfect. And I'll share that both in our email and also on Facebook. And we're coming close to the end of our time together, but I want to say, Joe, in one of our previous conversations, you had said to me that you had underestimated COVID. And let me say, yes, we all underestimated COVID because we needed you today. We didn't need you at the UPN conference. We needed you today because this presentation has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing, for allowing us to record. I wish there were more people that were able to be here in person to hear, but I know we will get a lot of positive feedback once they see this recording, because what you all have done in Charlotte, North Carolina is nothing short of amazing. And may God continue to be with you all in the work that you all are doing there, because it's work that needs to be done. And so I'm just excited. I know, Cheryl, you've got us all thinking, how can we do more, And so in closing, I would like for you to share, because we know that a lot of our urban churches and presbyteries that are in the network would not have a congregation that could say, here's $12 million, let's build affordable housing. What would you say to a community to make the first steps to get started in a project? Maybe not affordable housing, but the medical center that Cheryl was talking about, or converting a hotel. What would you say to those people who would have any type of hesitancy or concern?
I would say, don't let money stop you. Because if you have a bold idea, and a perfect example is what's happened at Mayfield Memorial. I mean, there's a predominantly minority congregation there. I mean, the pastor Weary would tell you they're not deep pocketed, but they had an idea. They had land at their church. They could do something, and so they leveraged it. If we provide this land, what could we build? And they called us to say, what could we help with? And so all that's taking place at their church, not ours. And our church just got behind it, and other churches got behind it too. So I think there's an opportunity right now for all churches, large, privileged or not, to come together. We're there. This opportunity is here and now, and I think we need to take advantage of it. And so don't let don't let money stand in your way. God will find the resources. What we need are good, creative solutions to our community problems. And you can network. There's social capital. There's all kinds of ways to get it done. And I don't know what it ultimately looks like. It'll probably be different than the slides I just shared you, but all of those were big problems that, all of us came together to help solve. It wasn't just Covenant. Covenant was a big part of one, but a smaller part of the other two.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, because, I would say our congregation that I'm part of, even though I'm on the Presbytery staff, but my congregation that I'm a member of, we're more geared toward hunger, and those kind of, so affordable housing wasn't really like necessarily on my radar specifically, but now it's making me think creatively about it, and on the Presbytery level too, if there are churches that come up that are looking at closure or, reimagining their ministry or something. So thanks for stimulating some.
I can see your head spinning.
It's just going crazy. So can I ask one last question? How involved is the Presbytery? I saw that Jan's name was, are they providing resources, or are they providing, just support and that kind of thing, or how are they involved?
To be determined right now. It's just leadership, because the closure of the church kind of defaults back to the Presbytery. So they, they're in charge of what to do with the property. So they're providing leadership and support. And I'm not sure, again, this is all new. So, but Jan's been phenomenal. She's been very engaged. She's at every meeting, and, she's
definitely a creative thinker. So
yeah,
you got the right person there.
Well, she just says, let the process play out. I don't want to have any predisposed ideas of what this should or should not look like.
That's wild.
Let's let the community decide.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry more, like Marla was saying, I'm sorry more, but I'm really glad I was here.
Well, we can do this again. So I'm a phone call away, and it's just really a pleasure to be with you. And Marla, I'm glad this worked out, because asked my wife, I was just distraught that I couldn't be with you a few months ago when I came down with COVID. So I'm glad this worked out.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
and
it.
I know Carlton will be very excited to see the replay, and you'll hear from him again. And Tony, do you have any closing remarks? Tony, you want to close us out with prayer?
I can certainly close us out with prayer. I just wanted to pop back on screen. I was, since I'm in the Midwest, I was finishing my lunch as this was going on. So I didn't want to do that on recording, but this has just been phenomenal, as everybody else has said. It's, stimulated a lot of thought in my head, and a lot of ways that churches can look at their future as well as look at their partners. There's a lot of different partnerships that can take place, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit or business, or it's remarkable what you guys have done with the resources you've been given, and it's a great testament to God being living and active in Charlotte. And thank you for sharing. Appreciate that a lot.
Yes, thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's close with prayer. Gracious Lord, we thank you for the time where we can break from our day and be in the presence of one another and be in the presence of you. We thank you for this opportunity to hear what you are doing and how you are stirring in the hearts and minds in Charlotte. We pray that your Spirit would plant those seeds, those same seeds of growth and grace in other communities, and help us to continue to nurture your love and to care for your children wherever they may be. We pray these things in the name of your Son. Amen.
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 Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really nice being with you all today, and look forward to having further discussions with you.
Yeah, well, blessings on y'all.
Take care.